So, welcome to the Eurachnos podcast. We are two interviewers from ACTA. I'm Léa Tourner, and I'm with my colleague Margot Alain. We are joined today by Effie Alexopoulou, which is the coordinator of the thematic network Panacea. So, good afternoon, Effie. Could you present Panacea and your role in the project?
Good afternoon to both of you. My name is Effie Alexopoulou and I'm working for CRES. I'm coordinating the Panacea project. Panacea project is a thematic network for the non-food crops, and we have the ambition and the idea to create a project in order to design the penetration path of non-food crops for the European agriculture, in order to offer opportunities to the farmers to increase their income and to through the access to new markets, because non-food crops can provide feedstock for several applications, bio-based materials and bioenergy. In Panacea, I am coordinating, but at the same time, I'm an expert on energy, on non-food crops. So, as one of the 10 countries participated in the project, I'm doing a lot of work in a national workshop with Greek people, Greek stakeholders, and try to record which non-food crops they are ready for practice for Greece. And then we selected the top 5 that we do believe for Greece are very close to the practice. Let's say in this top 5, it is included industrial hemp, camelina, castor, etc., switchgrass also, and lupin. This was the top 5 for Greece.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing several applications like training of the students, of the agronomists, collecting information on non-food crops, and I help the leaders on Panacea platform to insert the information in the platform.
Okay.
Thank you. So Panacea is a thematic network, but you're also coordinating the MAGIC project. Can you introduce it and explain the link with Panacea and the complementary, please?
Mm-hmm. Okay. The first project that was funding was MAGIC, starting in July 2017. MAGIC is a 4-year project. It's a research project where we are studying only promising industrial crops, but as ideal crops to be grown on marginal land facing natural constraints. So in this project, we have real field trials all over Europe, including Ukraine, and we have selected top 15 crops, and each country, each partner, doing trials for the crops that believes that the most suitable for their climatic condition in their country. In MAGIC, we have 3 tools, one database, but for industrial crops, one tool with maps of marginal land in Europe, and a decision support system for the farmers. So all of this information for MAGIC can be useful for Panacea, but Panacea is a broader project because it is not only stay on industrial crops that can be grown on marginal land, but can go further to that and include all the possible case studies growing on food crops in any kind of land, marginal land, typical agricultural area, or in rotation with food and feed crops. So for sure, Panacea can benefit from MAGIC and can use already information published there as a feedback for Panacea.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick question: when is MAGIC has started and when it is ended?
MAGIC starting in July 2017, 4 months earlier than Panacea, and is going to end at the end of 2021 because due to COVID-19, we got a 6-month extension in order to include 1 more year field trials.
Okay. This is very interesting. What is the main challenge, the main concern for non-food crops in the two projects, maybe, or in Panacea that you can illustrate?
The main challenge for Panacea was to find which crop are real next to the farmer. So we started from a very big list of 93 crops. We found that these 93 crops had been funding in European networks from the beginning of 1990s. So we did a large survey, and following a SWOT analysis and several analyses, we found that 29 out of these 93 crops, they could be considered as near to practice, because through the farmers questionnaire that we collected for more than 300 farmers, and the questionnaires from the industry, we show that for these 29 crops, we had great interest from both sides, farmers and industry. And finally, we are going to design a penetration path, a roadmap, how this crop, the near to practice, can be inserted to the European agriculture, either on a marginal land or as part of typical rotation systems. Each country, we have 10 countries, each country selected the top 5 crop for each country, and for these 15 total case studies, we are doing further analysis, and the findings of these will be presented at the end of February, because in the middle of February we are planning to have a final event of Panacea, and we are going to present both the roadmap, the platform, and the SWOT analysis, everything of the project.
So you developed a sort of business model. Can you explain us, taking an example for one crop, please?
I don't remember by heart the questionnaire that we created for the stakeholders of the industry, but I don't remember at all because it was 2 years ago. But we tried each country to attract members of the industry to complete the questionnaire, and then we did the analysis on this questionnaire in order to understand what the industry wants to see, what is the feedstock that it wants to get from the farmers in order to produce bio-based materials and bioenergy.
Yes, maybe you talk about a roadmap. What do you mean really by a roadmap?
In the roadmap, we are going to include how the cultivation should be done by the farmers in order to achieve the maximum yields, in order the crop to be successfully cultivated and to be profitable. So we are going to cover the whole production chains: cultivation, harvesting, and end use. What is the possible end use of this crop? And for all of this, we did some SWOT analysis, and all of these are going to be included in the roadmap. I forgot to mention that very valuable were the national workshop with the farmers and the stakeholders. We presented some ideas, and then we discussed it locally and nationally with the key players, and we get feedback that we put in the value chains. But of course, all of this changed totally after March 2020, when we have to stop this procedure with the national workshop, where we had the opportunity to meet the farmers, to go to the fields together, and to have open discussions. For instance, ACTA, I think Arvalis at Teres Univia, they had a lot of national meetings, smaller than the other partners, let's say 6 to 8 people, and discuss it thoroughly, how ACTA can help them to establish field trials with these crops.
So at the end, with this roadmap, you will have the possibility to provide recommendations, right?
Yes, exactly. And I forgot to mention that at the same time in Magic, we're about to publish guidelines for the farmers, but on growing industrial crops on marginal land. So it is more, it's a smaller, it's not broader, it's in a smaller area, specific area. But for 20 crops that we work in detail, we're going to provide guidelines, and that's why the two projects can be complementary. But for sure, in the roadmap, there will be also guidelines for the farmers.
Okay, thank you.
I forgot to mention that in Panacea, we propose a thematic network in EPAgri, and this thematic network is the one that is active this year on industrial crops together with Magic, and we prepare mini papers there contributing the final report on industrial crops.
Okay, thank you. And the knowledge you're developing, they will be available in a platform. Do you have your own knowledge platform?
Mm-hmm. You can see what is the, if you go to the website of the project, you can find in the main toolbar the Panacea platform. Each person can click on them, on this button, can register. This platform developed for the purpose of the project. And we started with a long list of on project on European and national, where you can find valuable information, which crop had been funding, what was the aim of the main research. And for some of them, it was very difficult to find, especially for the project, the old project, because you know that in the past, the information was not available in public like this the last year, that every project has a website. So we started from this inventory, and in Panacea, apart from the project, we have valuable information for the selected 29 crops, and at the last part of the project, we are going to put more info about the value chains. So for not for all crops, but for some of them that they have been worked nationally, we are going to provide further information about the selected value chain.
Okay, so you will have dedicated recommendation per country, per crop, right?
Not per country, per crop, because per country we selected 5. On these 5, we worked in detail. So if you go through these 29 crops, there will be an extra button, value chain, and in this button we are going to put in the beginning of 2021 which value chains have been tested in Panacea and by which crop, but not for the whole 29 crops, because when we analyzed, we saw that the majority of the crop, the countries, they were very interesting for 3 crops, for camelina, hemp, and miscanthus. So most of the countries, they wanted to see this crop in their agriculture.
Okay, and all people will be able to find this on the website and on the platform of Panacea.
Yes, of course, and they will stay there for 5 years after the project completion. And moreover, in the project, there is a link with Magic and Euracnos, but in Magic, the information will update it for at least for a year from now, so more information will be there.
Okay, very interesting. How do you see the future of Panacea? How the results will be used and by whom, do you think?
Part of the information was included in the thematic network that we proposed last year, but now that I'm analyzed what we collected, I do believe that another project is needed, that we have to work only on very, very specific crops, not more than 5, between 5 and 10, where we are going to do, apart from a network, some specific case studies with the farmers, where, for instance, we are going to test further Camelina in Spain, or miscanthus in France, or industrial hemp in the Netherlands, or whatever, to work further in more details on the problems, on specific crops with the farmers and for the farmers, provided solution. And to be more practical, to have more visits with on the farm, with the farmers and the students, the agronomists. So I was dreaming for another project, maybe it's a dream, but working more with the farmers and with a narrow and a smaller list of the crops, because now we know which crop they have a future for the next 5 or 10 years.
Okay, thank you. To conclude, what do you think Eurycnos could bring to your community in Panacea?
I think Eurycnos can help us first of all, to disseminate our platform and to help us to conserve the Panacea platform in the future. We are going to do that for the 5 years, but my main question is how, even after Eurycnos and after Eurycnos, how we are going to continue to have active all these platforms that have been created in all these years. I think the last 6 years, several projects create platforms. It will be very nice, all these platforms to stay alive, updatable, connectable. That is very difficult. I know how difficult it is in reality. And to be connectable also with EPAgri. And finally, how all of these platforms can reach the farmer, because this is another very important issue.
Yes, you're right. It's an important question, this will be raised in the Eureka project that is following Eurycnos. They are trying to compile several platforms in one general platform that will be used at the European level. So maybe we can know more in another podcast about Eureka.
The Eurycnos project has received funding from the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Programme under Grant Agreement number 817863.
Royalty-free music from Ben Sound.